Hey friends, if you like the Nexus Podcast, the best way to continue the learning is to join our community. There are 3 ways to do that. First, you can join the Nexus Pro membership. It's our global community of smart building professionals. We have monthly events, paywall deep dive content, and a private chat room, and it's just $35 a month. Second, you can upgrade from the Pro membership to our courses offering. It's headlined by our flagship course, The Smart Building Strategist, and we're building a catalog of courses taught by world-leading experts on each topic under the Smart Buildings umbrella. Third, and finally, our marketplace is how we connect leading vendors with buyers looking for their solutions. The links are below in the show notes, and now let's go on to the podcast.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Nexus Podcast. I'm Brad, filling in for James today. I've got with me Rosy from Nexus, as well as James Coleman from Princeton. So why don't we start? We're going to start with at the Nexus and explain some things that are going on at Nexus. But first, James, if you don't mind giving a quick introduction of who you are and how you found yourself here.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and chat with you on this fine Halloween day. As Brad said, I'm James Coleman. I work at Princeton University, where I have a dual role. I'm both a PhD candidate, where I do research around smart buildings and AI and all of its sort of requisite technologies. And I also work within our facilities team as a BAS analyst, helping run special projects on our campus.
Right. And James, you won the Nexi Award for up and coming leader in the industry. So congrats on that. Did you get your award? Because I mailed it to you because you left right before the award ceremony. Did it come?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much for mailing that. And apologies, the flights to Philly are infrequent. So thank you for mailing it.
No worries. Well, congrats. That was kind of a democratic decision by a lot of people. So a lot of people think that you're going to do a lot more good things in this industry, which is cool.
Well, it's very kind. Thank you for the honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I should probably mention, in case there's anybody watching this on YouTube, that it is Halloween. So that is why, Rosy, are you a princess?
So
a queen?
Thanks, Brad. That was very kind of you I love that you just adjusted it. So my son is the dino from Super Mario. And so then I'm like the princess in Super Mario. That was what
sweet.
I was going for. But, I had to keep it work appropriate. So we're wearing a sweater, but the crown is like, I wasn't going to come in a whole princess costume. That'd be a lot for everyone. So that's me. And then nice. Brad, are you, what would we name you if we had to name
I don't know. This actually isn't what I'm going to, like tonight, my wife and I are going to be vendors. So we have like suits that like we have like a little case that's suspenders that we have popcorn in that we can hand out to people, like the vendor at like a baseball game, that you can buy stuff.
Shut up! That is amazing.
But right now,
did Ellis do that?
I didn't.
She did that.
I was very uninvolved. Right now, I'm a hamburger hat. It's just a hat I have. It's a hamburger. So
I love it. It's great. Okay, you look kind of like Is it a jester? What's that thing? The Joker kind of guy? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what James and I were just talking about. It's very jester-esque.
Yeah, it's great.
We'll kick it off here with At the Nexus, which is a couple things that are happening in the Nexus Labs community. And post-NexusCon, the big thing that we've been focusing on and talking about is the launch of Nexus Cast. Rose, do you want to tell people what Nexus Cast is?
Of course. Yeah, we're super excited about it. It's really came out of us trying to find a way to bring the NexusCon experience into the virtual world. So NexusCon happens once a year, but what about all the other months of the year? How do we kind of connect and stay in touch with each other? And so in December, we're doing one on the state of connected OT. So we'll be focusing on cybersecurity and networking. That's happening on December 10th. That'll be a half day. So really easy to engage in it. You'll take it from the comfort of your home or office, but you'll be able to connect with folks from the industry. We'll be bringing building owners together with vendors. There'll be demos. There'll be deep dives and sessions and breakouts. Like, it's a really cool kind of way of bringing the NexusCon experience into this space that we are all in, and a lot easier for us to do rather than, having to travel. So we're excited about that. Just to give some logistics, if you are a pro member, it's free for you to join that. So that's a no-brainer, right? For all of our pro members, there's hundreds of you. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you registering for it. And then if you're not a pro member, you can obviously become one and then just register for free, or you can just register, and tickets are $149. So super low commitment. And then if you're a building owner, it's free to attend. So we've had a bunch of people sign up. We're excited about it. Please, more of you sign up so that we can understand kind of who's coming and gauge the interest, but also, make sure the content fits the folks that are going to be in the room.
Yeah. And we've been kind of dialing in on that content from just the state of connected OT to, I think we're going to try to wrap it specifically around device management as a topic. So we're playing around with the name. What is it? Oh, getting control of your building's OT devices. So we just came out with a device management article a couple of weeks ago that has 6 steps to device management. And we're going to look to get building owners who can provide case studies of how they're approaching one of those 6 steps. So ideally, we'll have 6 different case studies, each one from a different step of what it takes to do device management of operational technologies correctly in your buildings. So we will be reaching out to building owners that we think are ahead of the curve here, but also this is a shout out that if you are a building owner and you are doing something with device management or have device management problems, talk to us and maybe you can share where you're at. And you could be one of the presenters at NexusCon. So reach out. Okay. With that said, let's get into it with James, our guest here. I already congratulated you on the award. It's a pretty big deal. We only give out I think we gave out 5 awards, and there's 400 plus people there. But James, can you just start by talking about your experience at NexusCon?
Well, I mean, I had a great time, just like I did last year. I think, there were a ton of very engaging panels. I thought that the sort of like lecture style content this year was especially strong. Like there was some really good informational sessions that preceded panels, which I thought were really, really effective at framing conversations for an audience who may not be at the same place as the panelists. So I thought that was really good. And then just like last year, I thought that frankly, my favorite part was just seeing the whole community in one place. It's pretty exciting and fun. So thank you for organizing that, guys.
Yeah, of course. So you were part of a session. Your session was called FM Meets AI, Case Studies in Improving Operational Efficiency. You had a couple of case studies that happened before your part. So I know there was a really good one with Willow and Northern Arizona University talking about how they were using AI and AI agents to improve operations for their facility management. And then you were on a panel. So do you want to just kind of describe what your panel was and how it went?
Yeah, so the panel that I was on was maybe a little leadingly framed as basically where does the hesitancy in AI adoption in FM come from and what can be done to overcome it. And we had a pretty lively, spicy, to use the sort of themes you guys were working on, conversation, both beforehand in an email chain as well as on the actual stage, about how yes, facilities teams could be doing more to make themselves AI ready or sort of experiment more, but also I think that the industry as a whole can do more to sell FM teams on the actual value proposition of the AI tools that they're building. And so that was sort of the framing of the conversation we had.
If this was forced into a debate style and you had to stand on one side of the room or the other, are you on the side of the room that's AI for operational efficiency, AI for FMs is a real thing today that can happen and be effective? Or are you on the side of it's kind of a pipe dream and it's going to come in the future, but there's not a lot of good tools out there? Which side are you closer to?
I hate having to take a side, to be quite honest, because I don't think it's quite that binary. So the way that I look at it is that I know for a fact that there are a ton of useful existing tools for FM teams that fall under a broad umbrella of AI for facility management and operational efficiency. I know that they exist. Are they being packaged and communicated the right way to the right people at the right times right now? That I'm not so sure about.
Okay. You dodged my question, but I'll allow it.
He did. Yeah, big time.
No, it makes sense. Do you have any examples of is Princeton using AI for operational efficiency in any places that's notable?
I have an answer to this, but I would first, like you, it's not a dodge because I have an answer. But do you, Brad, want to clarify what you mean by AI, or would we like to do that maybe collectively?
That's a
No,
great
that's
idea.
Question.
That's
good
totally
point.
valid.
Good point. Let's level set.
Yeah.
So I have something to say on how I've come across that, James, and I'd be happy to hear your opinion on it as well as Rosie. So this is just the beginning, but I want both of you to add to it. When we were making the agenda for NexusCon, we have an energy management track and a facility management track, and the world is obviously not that black and white. Those jobs often blend together. You're often doing things for your facility that are going to help improve operations and save energy. So it's kind of conceptual, right? So in the energy management track, we had an AI for energy management session, and then we're talking about AI for facility management. What I found very interesting is that the AI for energy management session was pretty easy to get case studies for that would fit that. And the AI for facility management session, it was kind of like pulling teeth to get real case studies from building owners of what's happening there. And I think that that's really telling because my theory is that when you say energy management, you can put an AI agent, which an agent in my definition is artificial intelligence that's doing a job with little or no human intervention. It's kind of working on its own. And in energy management, you can make an AI tool do something like change the set point of a chiller or a rooftop unit, very specific one output based on a ton of inputs, and that can work pretty effectively. But in facility management, we're talking about like improving operations, making equipment last longer, and that's very abstract. Like, how do you tell an AI to make your chiller like last more years or work better? Or is it, and also there's always going to be a human in the loop because there's people actually turning wrenches and plugging in wires to make these things happen. So that's why I saw the hesitancy in this particular session. But yeah, I don't know if James, you want to add to that, or Rosie, on what you think about these two
I'll
topics.
just add one thing, and James, I'd love to hear your perspective on this too. It also, Brad, I think you hit on something really important. It's like the people doing these jobs that are FMs, there's also a lot of like physical labor that they're putting in, that they're doing. And so I could see if I was in a role like that, there is a reluctancy of how AI can sort of collaborate with me, given that I am like in a actual boiler room, right, of a building, and like that's where I work. And so it's like this abstract thought of like, wait, how is AI gonna now help me do my job? Like they're not here, I'm here, you know? And so I'm sure there's some of that that's coming up that is nuanced around, you know, reluctancy to change, and also a fear around like, can it actually help me? And like, will it do it the right way? Would it do it how I would do it? Is it actually saving me time, or is it just adding to my workload? Like, sort of like, step out of the way, I'll just handle it. So I'm sure all those things are coming up for folks that are in these types of roles. But yeah, James, I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think just sort of start at the beginning with how Brad pointed out that there's a challenging overlap between energy management and facility management, especially at an organization like Princeton, where one group is responsible for both. So when an alarm comes in that a set point is not being hit in a room, is that a facility management issue? Is that a energy management issue? Are we overcooling? Is that why we're not hitting the set point, and that's therefore spending a bunch of energy we shouldn't be? Or is something broken? And so even at that triage level, it's sort of a little unclear, at least in an organization like Princeton, whether we're looking at tools for operational efficiency or facility management. I think they're often going to be the same thing. And to that point, like the original question was, are we doing anything currently which I would classify as falling under the AI umbrella in specifically, like definitely a facility management, not an operational efficiency framing? And I think that anybody who's running AFDD, particularly the diagnostic part of that acronym, is kind of definitionally running AI, right?
Right.
It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like as an organization, we've been doing that for I mean, way before I ever got here, but I'm pretty sure almost 15 or 20 years, maybe longer.
Mhm.
Somebody would have to correct me, but like a long time. So does that mean we've been doing AI for 20 years? Maybe not by the current definition, but I think in a sort of academic dictionary type sense, absolutely we have been. So that's, I mean, just one sort of narrow explanation of how I think, yes, we absolutely are. Are we using chatbots? No.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that makes perfect sense. And just back on the energy management spot, I don't want to belittle the work it takes on that side either. So like shout out to, I think it was Facile AI and Wendy's who gave a case study, as well as Brainbox and Amazon and Microsoft. Like that's a cool topic in its own. But how do you bring it into this segment of facility management? Like, yeah, you're right, James. I think that FDD is like kind of it's a gray area of where do you draw the line of what's AI and what's not. Um, I do recall something I thought was really cool that you said on the panel, and I'm going to butcher it. So, like, let me try to explain what I heard, and you can tell me how you actually said it. But you were giving advice to the audience of like how to watch out for like AI that's just pizzazz and not actually real. And you were talking about how, like, to avoid a vendor lock-in situation with AI where you're stuck with one vendor, you should be able to ask the vendor if their their solution can be run on other agents. So, like, you could take their solution, as I understood it, and run it on OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, I don't know, environment that you use for AI as a way to prove that they're really in it for the benefit of AI and not just trying to lock you into something. Is that kind of what you were getting at, or can you explain that again?
Sure thing. So, by the way, that the process works is creates risk for lock-in, which is that one of the reasons that deploying any kind of machine learning or AI tool to a complicated building or campus, whether that's for FM purposes or energy efficiencies, the bootstrapping costs to get some new tool into your building are often quite high. And often, like, one of the things that has to happen, regardless of what kind of model we're talking about, is that you need some kind of model of your building, and I'm talking about like tagging um, or something a little bit more knowledge graph based. But there's a base set of information, which when I look at a lot of the solutions that are on the market, require each and every vendor to implement them before they can roll out their solution, which then means you've put a bunch of sunk cost into a particular company because it requires a specific kind of modeling to happen first. And that's obviously a big opportunity for lock-in. And so what I may have said on the panel is that one of the things that I want to see more of going forward is to make sure that we can quickly evaluate any kind of AI tool on a complicated building, that the vendors are able to bootstrap or bolt on their solution into a open standard data model, which I own as a building owner, not the vendor.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's more about, it's not so much the using that somebody else's AI tool as it is using your data layer to perform the tasks at hand. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to make sure that my switching costs, if it doesn't go well, are as low as possible, and I get the best fit at the right time.
Yeah. Okay. Aside from that, do you have other pieces of advice for facility management groups who are like maybe getting pressured to adopt AI and aren't sure where to go? Like what would you recommend to a group that's curious about this topic and maybe not very far ahead?
It's an excellent question, and I think, forgive me for maybe being a little nihilistic, but a lot of the pitches that I hear are not owner or context specific. People come
Mm-hmm.
to a building owner, and this predates me being at Princeton, but like back when I was a specifying engineer, I'd sit on like bid meetings and I'd hear pitches which were about the product, not the problem. And
Yes.
so, right. And so, if I'm an FM team who's very busy, right? Like, sitting in pitch meetings is not the highlight of my day. It doesn't get me home any
Right.
faster.
That's true.
And so, one of the things that I think owners can do to make sure that they get the most out of some of these like increasingly requisite meetings to talk with vendors about AI is have the vendor is not likely to come to you with your problems. So have those ready to go. And when they start talking in generic terms, you flip the script and say, these are my specific problems. What tool do you have that can actually address my pain points?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think, James, you're hitting on something that often happens with a lot of companies that have a software or do have a solution or a service or whatever. They're trying to sell something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a total Rosie's rant, which, James, you don't know what that is probably, but that is a funny thing where I notice things in our industry that are rant worthy. And what you're hitting on is totally one of those things where they talk too much about their own product, right? Because that's what they know and that's what they're really passionate about. But especially, I think it depends on who you're talking to. And so in this case, we're talking about FMs who are super busy. They need to be in different locations. They're getting pings on their phones. They're getting alerts. Like there's just so much going on in their day to day. And for them to sit there and hear about your awesome platform that, creates this amazing dashboard or so on and so forth. Like it's not real enough for them. And so I think that's
Yes.
great for anyone that's listening that it maybe is trying to sell to FMs. That is such an important point, especially for FMs, where they really need you to hone in on what their problem is and show up knowing that instead of showing up and asking questions. Like you got to know who you're talking to.
Yeah. Completely
Yeah.
agree. Well said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we see that a lot, Rosie, in the form of like demos where, and again, you said it, like the person's very passionate about this product that they've spent a bunch of time on, but that turns into a demo where maybe they've got a sidebar that's got 15 different features within that platform. And they're like clicking through it. And they're like, we can also do alarming. We can also do scheduling. We can also do this. And it's like, we didn't ask you if you could do that. Like you need to be addressing what problem or pain point that you're trying to solve. And it's maybe even exacerbated worse with AI because they just want to go there and say that they've put effort into AI rather than showing how that's helping the pain point.
Completely. Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Maybe if we were to zoom out a little bit, like we're talking about AI hesitancy, but James, you're in just a unique place because you've kind of been at the in between of like the academic side of building automation and the industry side. And I think that you've probably, before AI even came along, seen this like push and pull of like, here's this great, shiny, incredible thing. But wait, why is no one actually adopting this and putting it in their buildings to make them better? So I don't know, kind of just open from there. Like, what can you say about the academic versus the industry side and what the hesitancy of adoption has been for years beyond just AI agents specifically?
So I made a kind of drastic life change 4 years ago when I left being a smart buildings consultant professionally in New York City to go work on a PhD at Princeton to try to think through that problem specifically. Because when I was working in New York, working with like some of the biggest building owners in the US, with the folks with the most resources, I was often seeing that either they were unable to justify the tools that they wanted for financial reasons or for complexity reasons, or they couldn't buy things that I knew existed because I have been reading academic papers for a long time, but like hadn't made it to market in a scalable way. And so part of the reason I left my fairly normal engineering life was to try to get to the bottom of that question. And I have a frustration with each side of this challenge. Starting with the sort of market side, the industry side, one of the things that frustrates me right now about the current landscape is that when people talk about AI, and I shouldn't paint with a broad brush, but it's all I hear, so it's challenging not to, but like when people say AI and I ask them about their tech stack, or I just look it up, 9 times out of 10 recently, what they're talking about are wrappers around large language models, which are
Yep.
excellent if you want a chatbot, but I do engineering problems, both professionally and in an academic sense. Like those are like the wrong fit. It's a round peg in a square hole. That is like fundamentally they're sort of awkward bedfellows. Like they don't work well naturally together. And what is frustrating when I hear these people, when I hear vendors, whomever, talking about, oh, I've got this great new LLM based feature. I'm like, what about all of the value proven machine learning techniques that we have been developing in academia for like 20 years now. Like, why aren't you trying to commercialize those things, which I know save 20 or 30% operational energy? Like, what can't we start with those and then you can give me chatbots? And so that's really frustrating on the one side.
Yeah.
And then to sort of quickly wrap up the other side of this, there is some objectively incredible, technically impressive research that comes out of national labs, universities in the States and elsewhere, showing, like, transparently showing how to use sophisticated algorithms to save energy in a provable way. Like, there's no better case study than an academic peer-reviewed paper, right? There's no bias. It's just they found this information and they're presenting it to you, and they're telling you how they did it. I think that's like a wonderful, largely untapped resource in industry. And I think part of the challenge here is that academics, unfortunately, because doing FM or energy efficiency research outside of a lab is expensive and money is hard to come by in academia, especially right now, that they often present their findings as if the problem has been solved against, for example, a simulation or a one-off building, and they do not consider the sort of scalability challenges, which is what vendors have to figure out all day long. It's a hard problem. And so the bridge that I am personally hoping to build between the two sides here is help vendors see the wealth of public domain algorithms, methods that exist and have been published freely, help them be solving real world problems with existing stuff that's already been published, and then help academics get a little more comfortable with the real world aspect of deploying things at scale.
Interesting. I think this is reminding me about the point that you were making of FDD kind of being AI for facility management that's been happening for decades. I think maybe some credit to Nate Benez, who was on the panel with you from University of Nebraska. I think he was the one who said, like, we've kind of got physics down more or less and like HVAC control or energy efficiency in your HVAC is physics. So does it need AI, or is like the level of linear regressions and rules-based automations that have been built over decades like good, and it just needs to be implemented well? And I think that's kind of what you're hitting at. It's like we've come up with a lot of stuff that works, and it's maybe AI is more of a distraction than anything else for this particular industry. I don't know. Maybe that's a bold statement, but.
Well, yeah, maybe distraction is harsh, but definitely it's stealing the oxygen from a lot of like sort of proven technologies that have real paybacks. And coming from a specifying engineering world where nothing could happen unless you could prove the ROI, and then so knowing that's sort of the state of affairs, then some vendor comes to me and goes, "Hey, I've got a chatbot." I'm like, "Do you have an ROI on that chatbot?" No, then what do you want me to do?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. All right. So I want to transition back to Nexus Cast just for a second, because I know that you are an OT guy, a tech guy as well, who knows the networking side of this. So anything that you would like to see in this is basically NexusCon, but virtual, but focused on that OT track. Like, what would you like to see talked about or addressed within this event?
I think that for a lot of, especially like medium-sized organizations right now, device management is increasingly becoming a topic that they have to figure out. And this is being driven, I'm sure you guys have talked about this somewhere, but like a lot of this is being driven by increasing requirement for converged networks. And that's one thing we know about sort of traditional network managers, that they do not like random devices on a network with unknown firmware releases and doing bad stuff. So talking about what device management best practices exist out there, I think would be invaluable for the industry as a whole.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Any last comments on this, Rosy, James, before we wrap up and go into carve outs?
Well, I guess I have a question for James, just for our listeners that don't know you as well as we know you. Like, maybe you could share with us the other things that you're excited about right now, aside from some of the stuff you've already shared with us, because I know you do a lot.
two things which I think everybody should be following, and if they're not, this is my prompt for them to do that. So there's two big initiatives coming, sort of sponsored by ASHRAE right now, which are reaching maturity, and I think are going to hit the industry in the coming months and maybe year to year and a half. The first one is the semantic interoperability modeling standard that ASHRAE's been working on for like almost 5 years, might be 6 years now. It's just about finished its public review, and that's going to become published. And I think this is a reaction to what I think you guys used to call the ontology wars back when that was more of a sort of raging topic. So the official sort of ASHRAE sponsored version of this is coming out, and much in the way that BACnet was transformational for the industry, I think this might be as well. So I think I hope that people take a look at that. And then related to this, there's a second ASHRAE sponsored initiative called Controlled Description Language CDL, which is a kind of standard programming framework for building systems. And something I've been experimenting with both of these in my lab, which is why I'm bringing them up here. But that's another really potentially transformational technology for our industry. I heard somebody maybe in one of the most recent episodes of the podcast talking about how the ability to program controllers, maybe it was Terry Herr, in a standard language would be a game changer, because one of the main ways we get locked out of our own gear is when the programming tools are proprietary. And so CDL is ASHRAE's reaction to that challenge. And I think it's a big pain point that their smart people are working hard to address, and I hope people will check it out.
Nice. That's great. We will get links for both of those items to put in the show notes for someone who's interested in learning more about either of them. Okay, cool. This has been great. I think we'll wrap it with some carve-outs here, which is just something that's fun and more personal that we've been going through. Rosy, do you want to start with your carve-out?
Sure. So I was thinking about what is my carve out. The thing that came to mind is, so I have all these nice kitchen knives that mostly my husband gets me, and they're all like really high quality Japanese knives and whatnot. But a knife is only as good as how sharp it is. And so you need to learn how to sharpen these knives, or else they're sort of useless and they become dull. And so I am learning how to sharpen knives. I have this whole like kit.
Nice.
And it's a whole thing, but it's really hard actually. And like you could mess up the knife if you do a shitty job. And there's so many different, pieces of it, but the last step is like a really nice leather that's like the final step of the process, and you do it with water, and it's like this whole thing. Anyways, so I have not become a master. It is actually harder than I thought. So to that end, I'm sure someone listening probably does sharpen their knives or something and has an easier method than this kit that I got. That is really, I think this kit is like what people use to start a business to sharpen knives. Like I'm not going to be that person at the farmer's market. So I'm all ears if anyone has advice on what I should use instead. But yes, that's
Nice.
what's happening
That's
for
great.
me.
Awesome. James, what do
Thanks,
you got?
Brad.
Well, I mean, just because people may have seen my hand here, I very excited to be potentially having a functioning wrist for the first time in 6 years after a skateboarding injury that took me out for a while. So that's exciting. But then a book I recently read, which like I've been thinking about constantly since I finished it, which I heard other people do this bit on your show. So I recently finished the biography of Linus Torvalds. He was a guy who wrote Linux.
Okay,
and he has an autobiography, which he's just like a funny guy. Like, one, it's a cool story about how the name of the book is called Just for Fun, the story of an accidental revolutionary. Came out in 2001, found it in like a used bookstore by accident. And it is just such a he's a fascinating guy in the story of Linux, which now the whole modern world depends on it. And sort of this one guy did it in a dorm room in his like, I think, late 20s. And it's just like it's a cool story, cool person. Check it out if you're interested in open source software or so tech innovation.
I love it. We barely even scratched the surface of open source, which is something that you are well in the weeds about. So maybe next time.
Yeah.
I did want to ask though, the skateboarding accident, were you doing something cool, or was it one of those ones where you were just hanging out and then it happened? Like what's the story there?
Sure, thank you. All right, well, so this is the embarrassing one. This wrist I broke this summer doing nothing cool.
Oh my
I hit a
goodness,
crack at
James,
full
what is
speed.
going on?
I know, bad
Skateboarding
timing.
also?
Oh yeah, sort of.
Oh,
I
so
mean, just
you're
going
like
faster.
a pro skateboard. Like
Well,
you're
no, if I was, I'd break less wrists.
I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
You like it
but
though. It's a
I do
hobby of
enjoy it.
yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. But this one, I mean, vaguely cool. I was in a bowl in Manhattan, on the Hudson River, just locked up doing a trick that's not super hard, but fell quite far backwards and snapped my wrist.
Dang.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Since it's
Brad.
Halloween, my wife and I love horror movies. So my two horror movie recommendations, which aren't like from the depths, like if you've seen movies, you've heard of these both. But we watched The Silence of the Lambs like 2 nights ago, which is such a classic. It's so good. If you like real horror movies, it's really good. It's really well done.
I've watched it once and it haunts
timeless.
me still to this day.
Yeah, it's good.
I can't do horror.
Watch that
Okay.
so for the lighter, if that's too dark for you, Beetlejuice 1 is so good. And then
Classic.
they actually did a really good job with Beetlejuice 2 as well. Like they could have flopped, I think. But it's actually really good. Is it as good as the first? Probably not, but it's really close. It's also very good. So.
Interesting.
Okay, with that, we will wrap.
Love it.
But thank you, James. We really appreciate you being on the pod, and we'll see you at Nexus Cast. Thank you, Rosy, and have a good Friday, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening in. Bye.
Okay, friends, thank you for listening to this episode. As we continue to grow our global community of changemakers, we need your help. For the next couple of months, we're challenging our listeners to share a link to their favorite Nexus episode on LinkedIn with a short post about why you listen. It would really, really help us out. Make sure to tag us in the post so we can see it. Have a good one.